BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hold the back page, match of the day, top 10 transfer shocks. We've already made ours earlier in the season. Righty out, Richards in. It's not going well.
The numbers have gone through the roof.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it takes a player a while to adapt. But we're hoping for better things in the second season.
I think I've been absolutely a fantastic addition.
We'll be the judge of that. Yeah, you are.
But it's been good actually, giving a better balance to the side. 3 strikers was probably over.
Oh yeah, age differences and that. And
what age differences?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, right, you just took that long, did it, to bring that up. Alan's still with us. Just, he's on the shelf a little bit. Could do better. Hello and welcome. We're talking Premier League transfers today. Not any old transfers, just the ones that make you go, what? How did that happen? So there you go. Alan, Shearer and Micah Richards are here, as we know, and you can have your say on Twitter using the hashtag MOTDTop10. So here's our top 10. I'll read it out first and foremost. Andy Carroll, Newcastle to Liverpool in 2011. That was for £35 million. Fernando Torres, Liverpool to Chelsea, $50 million in 2011 as well. Javier Mascherano and Carlos Tevez. Corinthians to West Ham for undisclosed fee. Raheem Sterling, 2015, Liverpool to Manchester City for £44 million. Sol Campbell, who was a free transfer, you'll remember, from Tottenham to Arsenal way back in 2001. Robin van Persie, Arsenal to Manchester United for £24 million. Eric Cantona, of course, Leeds to Manchester United for the meagre sum of £1.2 million in '92. Tevez again, this time from Manchester United to Manchester City for £47 million, 2009. 2006, Ashley Cole, Arsenal to Chelsea, that was £5 million. And finally, 1995, Andy Cole from Newcastle to Manchester United. Newcastle selling their best ever striker. So, all right, where shall we begin? We'll begin with you, Alan. We'll do what we usually do, go from 10 to 6. And I suppose the criteria here is what shocked you the most? And within this, we'll also talk, hopefully, about some of your transfer stories and how they come about. But first and foremost, 10 to 6, please.
Well, shall we... how many have you not heard of? How many players are these?
No, I've heard of them all, yeah.
This
is more my era, this, yes.
How old were you in 1992 when Eric Cantona went from Leeds?
1992, I was 4.
You were 4.
You've seen the videos of him, have you?
I've seen the videos.
Not the DVDs,
I've done my research.
Oh, right, he's doing his research. Go on then, Alan, 10 to 6.
I've gone Sol Campbell, Tottenham to Arsenal.
Ridiculous, but anyway, we'll speak about that later.
9, Robin van Persie, Arsenal to Man United. 8, Andy Carroll, Newcastle to Liverpool.
Andy Carroll, yeah.
7, Raheem Sterling, Liverpool to City.
Sterling, yeah.
And 6, Andy Cole, Newcastle to Man United.
Newcastle's finest striker. Okay. Right. This, I think you've got Sol obviously higher, judging by your reaction, significantly.
I won't give it away just yet.
No, I don't want you to give it away. So why so low, Sol Campbell? Because that caused huge waves at the time.
Did it?
I think it even made the 10 o'clock news.
Where was it? Just huge waves in North London, or was it everywhere?
Well, especially in North London.
I got the news in Leeds.
Yeah.
Come on, you're going from your captain of Spurs and you go to your rivals. I could understand if you're paying
on a
20,
free transfer.
30 million. Free transfer. That is...
They should have offered him a better contract then, shouldn't they?
Well, maybe they didn't have the funds.
But it is a shock, though, isn't it?
Massive.
To go from what... I mean...
Well, it's one thing, it's
like
right.
Liverpool to Everton or Manchester United to Manchester, or the other way round. It's that kind of...
It didn't...
doesn't happen very often.
No, but if you know or understand Sol...
Which you do. What's he like?
Yeah, I've obviously played in the same team as Sol, and I think if there was one player it wouldn't affect, or he wouldn't give a flying whatever about what other people were thinking, then it would be Sol.
Why do you say that? Why?
Well, just because he has this. I think he had this attitude of, well, so what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And he probably didn't care or maybe understand what he was perhaps doing in moving from a rival to a rival, and with him being the captain. And I think that's an attitude that is good to have, because in football, whatever you do, at some stage you're going to get criticised.
Yeah, especially by your supporters, because, I mean, there's nothing more tribal than probably football in many ways, and people can't really see beyond their own club. They can't understand how a player would ever want to leave their club, even if it's a foreign player who's come in for a few years, and there'll be plenty of those we discussed.
Well, and look at what happened. Did it work for him?
Yeah? Well, of course it works.
He did all right, didn't
Yeah,
he?
but it was the way it happened, wasn't it? It was... there was a press conference, wasn't there? And it was like a kept secret. So no, it wasn't big news. So normally when you get an inkling, well, he's not signing his new deal, people know where he's going to go.
Yeah,
but there's only a couple of reporters there at the time. And then to announce that you've got Sol Campbell from your rivals, I just think it's not great. It's awful, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to pay the big bucks, you accept it.
It's how much it hurts the fans, I think, as well, isn't it? Because that's, you know, it shouldn't in the real world. It's just a bloke playing for a football team who goes to play for another football team.
It was captain of Spurs, though. That makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So you're captain, you're the one that you look up to, you know, supposed to be leading by example, and he's left his team in the lurch. No, I lost a lot of respect for him when he did that, even though I was a gooner.
We'll save a little bit of your thunder for later, because you've obviously got him significantly high.
Yeah.
He was a gooner. How many teams? I mean, we've done, this is our fifth one. We're Leeds fan, a gooner, City, Villa. I mean,
but no, Arsenal was your team growing up.
Yes.
Are they still your team now?
Well, depends what you mean by that. It depends. Can you be a bit more specific with the question?
Arsenal played, let's say, Manchester City.
Well, considering I'm a Manchester City ambassador...
That's not answering my question. If Arsenal played Manchester City, in all truth, who would you want to win?
How important is the game?
It's an FA Cup final.
Ooh.
well, it's whoever is going to get
It's
more
a Champions League final.
Will the FA Cup...
It's a Champions League final.
Champions League final.
It's the biggest game you can possibly play in club
because
football.
I'll be...
Man City.
parading
He's
the
getting
trophy.
paid off Man City.
See, this is all about the
Otherwise, his contract's cancelled off Man City if he says anything different.
You see, that's where, you know, fans will never understand how you can change allegiance from one club to another. As footballers, we do it, don't we? I mean, I've been transferred about 4 times, and it's a really weird thing. Leicester was my team, always as a kid. Always. I went to, you know, from the age of 7, I went every home game, lots of away games. I went with my dad and my granddad, and it was Leicester. Yeah, and I lived my dream of playing for my hometown club. I was there for 8 years. And then it came that it was the end of my contract. I wanted to see out my contract. I didn't want to walk out on a contract with Leicester, but I knew I had to go to somewhere a bigger club at that point, and a team that was, you know, a chance to win trophies. Didn't transpire there.
That makes too much.
So it's a really difficult thing. And then the weird thing is, as soon as you get a badge on from another club, the thing that really matters to you is that club. Immediately, you don't like your rivals. You don't like Liverpool as an Everton player. I went to Everton. You soon got, it's the Liverpool's the big, especially as the fact that they were the 2 best teams in the country at that point. And then I still followed Leicester's results and wanted them to do well. And I was very civil and didn't score against them. and then I went to Barcelona. And I'd not really followed Spanish football in my life at that point. And then I get there, and within 3 weeks, I hate Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You're kissing the badge.
I never kissed the badge.
Micah, you're one of them, aren't you?
No,
Kissing the
I've
badge
never
and all that.
kissed the badge. Not a chance.
No badge kiss. So then you leave Barcelona, I come back to England, and I'll play for Tottenham, and then you get that rivalry and that thing, and your allegiance is really weird. And all that time, kind of Leicester's you keep your eye on the results and stuff, and then I went to Japan, but can't really hate any other team there. So, but then weirdly, after I finished playing it, genuinely, my allegiance came back to Leicester. And the longer it goes, the greater that love and affinity has become, and obviously the magical moments of 2016.
Gary used to play for Leicester.
What year was that?
Do you know that?
Playing that already.
Well, yeah. Only from the advert, the Walker adverts.
Way before. Way before you were born.
What years were that?
I joined in
47 season.
I never scored that many goals. Not far off. But, it was. I made my debut New Year's Day 1979.
That's what I mean.
79. You were minus what then?
Yeah, -9.
Then I left in 85. So yeah, but then the passion. So it interests me that maybe it's because you've only just finished your career and you're an ambassador at Manchester City. But I wonder whether that feeling for Arsenal will come back.
No, I'll always have a love for Arsenal, but what are you laughing at?
Anything, I never
Just
said
know
it.
he definitely can't.
But Man City, I was there since I was 14. It's not like I went there and I was 21, 22 and stayed there 4 years. I left there when I was 27, so it's a long stint at a club. And because I got to see it grow from where it was like... That's why I hate Man United so much, because all through the youth ages, there was horrible, wasn't there? I just thought it was better than us.
Why are they horrible? What do you mean horrible?
Just like...
See, that's a bit fannish, isn't it?
No, there was horrible. Like, they had the best kids, didn't they?
He's right, Man United are horrible.
Horrible. They're horrible.
Do you know what? I played my last ever game in English football at Old Trafford, and when I scored, they sang my name and got me. I have a soft spot for them ever since.
Do you know when?
I don't think they're horrible.
When Arsenal were top of the league and they were winning everything. Yeah. I'm sure there's reports out that Micah was saying one day, I'd love to be an ambassador for Arsenal. You're top. Look at the ambassador for Man City.
The problem is that they gave the job to Sol Campbell instead. and that's why he's got him higher up in his list. I can't remember where we were before we broke off on that.
Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell, yeah. So we'll save a bit of Sol, because you've obviously got him higher. Well, another Arsenal one here. In 9, you've gone Robin van Persie, great player. We've talked about him many times. Of course, Arsenal to Manchester United, 24 million. It was seen as a massive mistake by Arsene Wenger, wasn't it? Letting your great, probably one of the best strikers they've ever had, go to your biggest rivals at the time.
Yeah, after doing so well in the Arsenal shirt. But I mean, let's face it, when Man United come calling, who turns Man United down?
Only an idiot.
Only an idiot would do that.
So I understood the pull. I nearly did it myself. So he went there his first season to Man United, but wasn't he disappointed? Because I think then Fergie left a season after him going to Man United, and obviously Sir Alex would have been a huge pull.
Did they only have one season together?
I think he only had one season. Then Sir Alex left after that. So I can imagine he was slightly disappointed with that. Whether that would have changed his mind or not, I probably don't think so. But I can understand with him the disappointment with him leaving.
It was odd though, wasn't it? Van Persie being allowed to leave Arsenal. I mean, to Manchester United as well, because Arsenal fans were livid. Yeah,
it was odd, but I think he'd done everything he could possibly do at Arsenal.
It's not how fans see it, though.
And it's not, but they'd have how many players? Kolo Touré left, he came to us. Adebayor came to us. Clichy came to us. We got all their players, didn't we? And then going to Man United, I won't say it was guaranteed to win, but
they were the two big rivals at that point, weren't they?
Yeah, there was, but Arsenal wasn't improving the team at the rate that he wanted. Yeah. So, as an Arsenal fan, I understood it, if I was being totally honest. It's never nice to go to rival.
Arsenal
former Arsenal. I could understand.
What a decision, though. I mean, he's won the Golden Boot in his first year. He's won the Premier League in his first year. So it was again another decision that was justified.
Fergie masterstroke, do you think?
Yeah, not for the first time.
No.
But it's, I mean, you say when the fans don't understand it like that, it's very difficult for a manager once a player says he wants to leave.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for the club to keep hold of him. The manager then and the club then has a decision to make. Do they get as much money as they can because they look at the player and think.
Do you think you say it's if a player wants to go and then the fans have a go and disloyalty and the clubs tend to spin it a little bit because there's always two sides to every story. Yeah. And it's obviously more favoured towards the player now.
Now it is.
But certainly in my day and before that, you were almost players. You were like a piece of meat. You know, if the club wanted you out, you were kind of left with no choice. They'd say, "Oh, just go and rot in the reserves."
Do you think that's changed now?
Well, I think it's changed. But if the club wants you out now, if you've got a contract, and they've so much money, and people go, "Yeah, but he's gone so and so a week for not playing." The player normally still wants to play, but it's the club spin it or the fans spin it because all they see is the club. Sometimes it's not. It's the player wants to stay, but then they go, "No, we want you out because you cost us too much money," and you've got to go to a smaller club and earn half as amount. Well.
Yeah, the club would be speaking to papers and part of that little statement. But I think now the power of social media for the positive, the players have got the power. So
there is a positive somewhere.
There is a positive. There is a positive.
But
somewhere.
even you say back in the day, is that even when your contract ran out with the football club, that club still held your registration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, I did tribunal.
Yeah.
I had to go to a tribunal.
That's
I've told this story.
Osman and what have you came in,
yeah. After that, because I let my contract finish at Leicester, and you'd be free now. But in those days, if the two clubs couldn't agree, it went to a tribunal at Lancaster Gate. But I go with Howard Kendall down and the Everton chairman, and we go to this thing, and then Leicester are represented, and by Gordon Milne and the chairman. And I'm stood there, and it's like being in the dock. You think what's the charges, Your Honour? So you basically got the Leicester manager stands up and says, "We're losing a great player here. He's going to play for a lot for England. He scored lots of goals. He's won he won the Golden Boot for us. He won the Silver Boot the season before when we were in what they used to call it the Silver Boot in the old second division. You weren't born, don't worry about it." So, and then I felt, "Oh, that's quite nice. He's going to." And then Howard Kendall stands up. And he says, "We're taking a real punt here." He said, he's got potential. He says, "But I can't see him playing in the first team this season, hardly at all. But we've taken a bit of a gamble on the future. You never know." So I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I'm thinking, "Well, I've signed here for Everton. I'm not going to play." I thought I was like, my head was down. So we walk out. The court. It felt like I'd been found guilty of something. So we walk out the court, and Howard Kendall comes over, puts his arm around my shoulder. He says, "Don't you believe any of that, son?" He said, "You'll be all ever present in my team. I've bought you. I know you're going to be great." I had to do that to try and get the price down. In the end, and then they announced it was like the fee's going to be 800,000, which was 300 grand more than Everton wanted to pay. And I thought, "Oh God, that's terrible as well." But he went, "Oh, don't worry, we've got a bargain." He goes into Sainsbury's, buys a big bag of champagne bottles. We go on the train, we get absolutely bladdered on the train with Howard. We then end up in Southport, some Chinese restaurant that he always used to go to. Absolutely plastered with my new manager.
That's a good start.
It's a great start. So that's how it used to be before players obviously gained. I mean, nowadays, if you're a top player, why wouldn't you see your contract down?
It's the injury, though, isn't it?
Bit of a gamble, isn't it?
But how many players now finish with injury? In our day, it's different. But the medical thing, and you can enjoy yourself. I mean, it's a little bit but what a position. If you're a player worth 80 million quid, say, and you on a free to go, woof, what a position it puts you in terms of your negotiations. Look at Haaland. I mean, he's got a buyout, but...
Even look at the three forwards that could become available in the summer. I'm not trying to stir up the Harry Kane situation, but he's on a long-term contract. So the club would play hardball.
That's what I mean. If he'd have not signed the last one, I mean, it's difficult because obviously you
want that money, though, don't you? If someone comes with a 5-6 year deal and you're on,
it's never been about the money.
The ambassador of Manchester City.
Come on, let's be honest here.
Do you not find that's another thing, though? I mean, it's always a little bit uncomfortable talking about money, but do you not think it's a little bit more uncomfortable talking about money when you're a footballer? If in other walks of life, like top business people, Formula One drivers, golfers, top singers in the world, top
NFL.
actors in the world, any American sports, any kind of entertainment or sporting, they all earn lots of money if you're at the top of your field. But in football, it's almost like, these working class. I'm not sure that's right. They earn too much money. They're greedy and this.
Don't help themselves, though.
Well, that's the case. But they're very young men, aren't they? They're not that mature, and sometimes they make mistakes in what. But generally, they do pretty good stuff. They do loads of stuff for the community. I always think they get a kind of. I don't know. It's a little bit unfair compared with other walks of life. If people are really successful in other walks of life, financially or otherwise, nobody really complains. But if it's a footballer, it seems to be different to me.
It's almost the same as a footballer, of a young kid, and there's a lot of footballers that come from council estate backgrounds, and then all of a sudden, because you're a footballer, you're expected to be eloquent on TV, give the great interviews, great insight, and that's not fair either, to be honest. Because
it's the best job, isn't it? Being a footballer is the best.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well,
if you ask anyone,
it's living your dream, and it's what a lot of young people want to be when they. So it's if you make it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I was always.
Yeah, but if you're Harry Kane on, say he was on, I don't know, 20 grand on his first contract, and then he signed maybe 60 grand a week. He was on before he signed this one. And then Spurs say, well, you can have 150 grand a week.
Yeah. Well,
you are going to sign it no matter the...
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I understand why, but it's if you were brave enough to, like, actually, I'll just see my contract
with Bosman's, back in your days, I'm not even taking...
Bosman was after my days, that's the trouble.
You get an extra payment, though, don't you? Would that happen as well? So when I left Man City, come back off of loan, I didn't sign my contract till a month later.
So you got money at the end of it?
I got double pay.
I was always way before all the decent money came in.
I was too bad a player then, wasn't I?
Right, Andy Carroll talking about big money transfers.
Yeah.
Newcastle to Liverpool, 35 million quid.
That was a big surprise. That was.
Yeah, I think Andy Carroll's, when he was in his prime, he was a handful, wasn't he? And scored goals, and he was technically a decent footballer. Injuries, he just doesn't play though. But that's just one of those things. That's
well, it's ironic. He was injured when he signed for Liverpool, wasn't he? He couldn't play for the first 4 or 5 weeks when he signed his contract. But that all, if I'm correct in saying, that all revolved around the Torres transfer to Chelsea. Suarez, Carroll. I mean, when you sit and have a pint with Kenny Dalglish at Liverpool about the money that they got for Torres, he said it was always well spent because he got the double deal with Carroll and Suarez. I mean, what a player! Well, Suarez turned out to be. But that deal, Andy Carroll.
You know, when you sit down and have a pint with Kenny Dalglish, not everyone can do that. Tell us what he said about it.
Because the deal for Andy we looked upon as if to say, goodness me, what a waste of money that was. And he wasn't there that long. Then went to West Ham, I think, after that. Didn't score that many league goals at all. I'm not even sure he got into double figures, I don't think, in terms of league goals. But the deal for Suarez was part of that. So that's why Kenny says it was always a great deal. But I mean, the Torres deal, which I'm sure we'll
talk about.
We'll get onto that all revolved around that and getting players in to replace him.
Carroll was a good player. Played in England under 21s, and he always had something special. He was just different, wasn't he? Another option. Yeah. You always could trust him, work hard, score great header.
Play against because he was his elbow, wasn't he?
Everywhere.
I don't think he deliberately tries to do people, or maybe he does.
Yeah, I think he does.
Do you?
But not in a nasty way. If that makes sense. He's just when he's up there, he knows how to protect himself. Yeah. So his arms are a little bit all over the place. But he was a nightmare to play. You could always play against him because I had pace, so I'd just let him win the first ball. Because you're not going to win the ball. It's like crouch. There's no point trying to defend that. But I think he was better than people give him credit for. It was just this 35 million.
He had a good touch and good, unbelievable shot on him.
Left foot.
Just fragile, wasn't he, with injuries? That's just bad. You know, which is a shame because we
blighted his whole career, hasn't it? It stopped him from.
Because he was around England, wasn't he? In a few games.
England. But that stopped him. He just had a body that wasn't designed to play regular first-team football, and he's been injured a lot of it.
Yep. At number 7, Raheem Sterling. Now that caused a bit of consternation, didn't it? Certainly with the Liverpool fans. They don't forgive you for leaving Liverpool. I mean, he went there as a young man, didn't he? It was a very brave move, and everyone said, "Oh, it was crazy money for." But he's certainly proved himself. What a player!
Yeah, he's a top player. I still think he's got another level to go.
Do you?
I do.
He's mid-20s now, and he's 25.
I still think he can be a little bit more clinical.
He's improved that though, hasn't he, over the last 2 or 3 years?
But I still believe he can get more. He gets in them areas.
He does.
Like you guys are strikers, so you know he gets in the right areas. How many times? You know that run from left to right. He does it better than anyone I've ever seen. But he just, if he had a little bit more composure, he could get 20, 30 goals every season. Because look, he's playing with De Bruyne, Cancelo's playing the ball forward now. I'm his biggest fan.
Do you know when you talk about it's natural for finishers? I don't think finishing has ever been natural to Raheem, and I think in terms of people working at it, and he's worked at it, and he's without doubt. I mean, he's improved massively his goal scoring and his technique.
His goal involvement
is
incredibly high.
Yeah, he's to get to where he was. I think when he left Liverpool to where he is now. I mean, he's gone to another level.
Yeah,
without doubt.
He's also proven how mentally strong he is, because to make that move at that point for obviously it was a club suddenly in big money and stuff, and he was getting pelters, wasn't he, from all sides, but he's actually stood up, delivered, got better and better. I think Pep's probably helped him enormously.
Yeah, it was as well. It was the way it happened. I think there's an article that came out. He said he wouldn't re-sign for any amount of money at Liverpool.
Yeah, sometimes
you don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I know. And also, people forget when players say things that perhaps you go, is that a good idea? They're so young, I mean, I've got four boys and they say really stupid things, but they're not in the public eye. So they can get away with it.
The same about their dad.
Never. No. Total respect. They're out the will otherwise.
Yeah. He got a lot of grief over that move, but the way he handled it was superb.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Andy Cole, number 6. You didn't overlap.
No, but I think it was such a surprise because the relationship he had with Peter Beardsley, the number of goals that he was scoring.
Do you think if he'd have stayed with Newcastle that he would have been Newcastle's best ever striker?
Well, he was a good player, but I'm not sure he was that good. They knew what was coming along the line. They knew they had big Les.
All right, fair enough.
Les was after.
Fair enough.
What a job
he
Les
didn't
did.
quite usurp Jackie Milner.
No, I mean, what a finisher he was, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can you remember Kevin Keegan on the steps outside St James's
That's the point of this transfer, wasn't it? People say, why is that such a big shock, Newcastle to Manchester United? But God blimey, it was a furore, wasn't it?
Unbelievable, yeah. No one could quite believe what was going on. But obviously, Kevin. Do you know what? Sometimes you got to also think. I mean, that was what was it, £7 million at the time. Which was big money then, back in '95. And you don't know what part the manager, if any part at all, is whether he's been told, you have to sell him.
There's always more sides to the story in transfers
whether the club
that ever comes out.
Whether the club say to the manager, no, that's too good a deal to turn down, go and handle it, But I think Kevin, in particular, in normal Kevin Keegan fashion, he thought, no, I've got to get out and I've got to explain this situation. And he did it very, very well, but there was so much anger from the fans.
He's a great striker, Andy Cole.
Yeah, he was.
He really was.
Finishing-wise, he was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
We spoke about natural and right place and all of that type of thing.
How many transfers so you were 2 transfers?
2, yeah.
How many were you?
So I went on loan to Fiorentina, which we spoke about before, and then I went to Aston Villa.
So not that many.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people listening or watching would love to know how transfers come about. I mean, they vary at times, don't it? Sometimes it's the player that goes, you know that old thing you say, he's handed in a transfer request. That was way back, and that was actually not quite how it worked. I can never remember anyone going, here we go.
Yeah, signed in a document.
Dear Chairman, I'm in a position where I'd like to leave this football club. Best wishes, Micah Richards. It doesn't quite work like that, does it? It's. How did it work with you?
When I was, I signed a new contract at Blackburn the season after we won. Sorry, a month after we won the league.
Oh, good time to do it.
Yeah, and I wanted a clause in my contract that if I ever wanted to leave, I could leave for a set price or and I went to
You're ahead of your time with that one, weren't you?
To Jack Walker, and he said, "No way, no way are you having anything like that in your contract." And there was to and fro, and in the end, he said, "My word is bigger than anything, or my handshake is bigger than anything you can have in a contract."
And was it?
And we didn't. We accepted it, and we said, "Okay, we never had it in the contract." A year later. We've had Blackburn haven't done as well, and then I thought, I want to look at my options, and I went to see Jack, and Jack Walker said, "No way are you leaving this football." So I thought, maybe I.
Can you remember that thing you said to me a year ago?
Got that in the
so how did it happen? How did your transfer? Did you get demanding, saying, "No, I've got to go, I want to go," or was your contract
I went to see him and flew over to Jersey to see him in his. It was a magnificent house in Jersey.
Why does he live in Jersey? Any idea?
I wonder why. And I said to him, "Look, we didn't get it in. You said," and it was a to and fro all day. And then eventually, at the end of the day, he said to us, "Okay, you can leave, but the fee is £15 million." And it's a little bit more for Man United. £50 million for Newcastle or whoever, but it's a little bit more for Man United because he was desperate for me not to go to Man United. And it's £15 million cash up front.
So in the end, he did.
So in the end, he stuck to his word. But I don't think that's always the case in transfer sagas. And as you say, there's always different sides. The player has a point of view, the agent has a point of view, the club, the chairman.
I mean, for years and years and years, I used to get stick from Everton fans for leaving to Barcelona. And the truth of the story is I was really happy at Everton. I mean, I was scoring loads of goals. It was the best team I'd ever played in. I thought we'd gone to win lots of trophies. Obviously, we couldn't play European football, which is a factor. But Howard Kendall pulled me into the office one day and he said, "We've accepted an offer from Barcelona."
That was it, just like that?
That's it. And I thought, okay. Well, what do you, as a player then you go, oh, right, so you're not fighting to keep me then? And then you feel unwanted. Plus, it's Barcelona, so it ain't a bad thing. But often they think you should never have left. And I think I kind of had no choice. I did have a choice. If it had said, you're going to some second division club we're selling for £3.50, then you'd go, well, no, I'm not going.
Chance,
But it was Barcelona, and I was being told, basically, I felt not wanted.
It's a business, though, isn't it? It's a ruthless business. Is football. It's player has his side, the club has their side. You look after yourself, the club looks after what they have to do.
How many secret meetings is there though? As a player.
Talk about secret meetings. So after that, that was just before the World Cup that he told me this, and then we went out to Mexico. And I had a word with my agent. I said, "Listen, John, I don't want any distractions during this is England's tournament. We're playing in Mexico." He went, no, that's it. I'll tell everyone, blah, blah. So anyway, it all goes really quiet anyway before the World Cup. And I hadn't scored in a couple of the friendlies before. And then the World Cup starts, the opening 2 games, and it didn't happen at all. No goals, silence. Then I scored 3 against Poland. Don't like to mention it too often, pal.
You scored 3, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. And then 2 against Paraguay, and then another again. Well, anyway, after we scored 3 against, and then I scored 2 against Paraguay. At that stage, it wasn't like these days where everyone's got mobile phones and stuff. We're in this little hotel in Monterrey in Mexico, and you were allowed 1 phone call a week, and not from your room, but from reception. It's the only way you could get an international call out. So all of a sudden, and someone knocks on my door and they say, "There's a phone call for you, sir," at the reception. I went, "Really? Phone call?" So I go down, it's John. He said, my agent. He said, I know we had an agreement in all this. He said, but I've been talking with Barcelona for the last couple of days since you scored 5 goals in your last 2 games. And he says, they've been on to me, and he said, I don't want to talk to you about this, but they've said to me, if he doesn't tell us he's going to sign for us now, then the deal's going to be off. We've got to have him, and this isn't. And I said, if they want me that much, they'll want me at the end of the World Cup. I cannot do this while I'm playing for England. I cannot have that distraction. I said, if they still want me at the end of it, they'll still want me. If not, I'm at Everton, and they're a brilliant side. So, but bizarre. And then after the World Cup, so 2 days after, we had this meeting, and it was it might have been the Connaught Hotel, one of those big hotels in London. And Barcelona had their vice president, Juan Gaspar. He came over, and a couple of other representatives, and Howard Kendall was there, the Everton chairman was there, Terry Venables was there, and it was all very hush-hush, right, we meet, it's like they've got the top suite and the top stairs, so we come in a meeting and they do the negotiations, and it's all signed. Pick I had to speak to the president, and Nunes, and he didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of Spanish at that point, and it was, yes, sí, yeah, and whatever it was. Anyway, so the job's done, everyone's going, right, it's really, secretive and all this. And then Juan Gaspar, the vice president, said, I've got a table booked in the restaurant for 12 people. Shall we all go down? So we all go down and sit and have dinner. Howard Kendall, Terry Venables,
and everyone's in and out.
And everyone's in it. It's like, what? What? And then,
secretive.
Yeah, so that's how that happened.
No one would have known he'd played for Barcelona, would they?
I know. Great club. Leaving was harder, but anyway, that's another story. Right, okay. That's your 10 to. What's your 10 to 6?
I have gone Tevez and Mascherano, number 10.
Oh, gas. Yeah.
Van Persie, same as you. Alan, number 9.
Yeah.
I've gone Sterling, number 8.
Yeah.
Could have been anywhere around. Andy Cole, number 7.
Yeah. Not too dissimilar.
Yeah,
so
and
far.
Tevez.
The other Tevez twice.
Tevez twice, yeah. Tevez on his own.
Okay, well, that leaves us talking about... we've talked about all the others in that. We've got Tevez and Mascherano, and then the Tevez deal. The Mascherano and Tevez from Corinthians, which is obviously a Brazilian club, to West Ham. Undisclosed fee. 2 players, though, aren't they? Proper players.
Were, unbelievable players, what they turned out to be, the careers that they had. Probably not as good at West Ham as they were.
No. You've obviously got them both of them in your top 5.
Well,
Why?
I've got that Mascherano and Tevez deal as number 1.
Have you?
Wow.
It's number 1. Wow, that's a contrast. You've got 10 and you're first.
Yeah.
Well, we'll save that a little. Actually, no, we won't. We'll do it now. Let's do your 5 to 1. Come on, let's do it, because otherwise this is going to get too confusing for me.
My 5 to 1 was Carlos Tevez, United to City.
Yeah.
4 was Ashley Cole, Arsenal to Chelsea. 3 was Torres, Liverpool to Chelsea. 2 was Cantona, Leeds to Man United. And number 1 was Mascherano and Tevez.
Yeah. Micah?
Yeah, and my number 5 was Torres.
Yep.
Number 4 was Andy Carroll. Number 3, Ashley Cole. Agreed with Alan on number 2, Cantona. And then Sol Campbell.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's number
because
1.
what we've got here is, Alan, you went Sol Campbell 10, and you've got him in 1. I don't think we've ever had this before.
Yeah.
And you've got Mascherano and Tevez as 1, and you went 10.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just thought that with that.
That's the difference between strikers and central defenders.
what I mean.
Right there. Right there.
Headline trend.
Why number 1 out? Why? Come on.
Just because it didn't and wasn't and didn't look correct. I mean, it was. I mean, you've got
Well, it was
2...
a little bit like, I suppose, Tyson and Muren came together, didn't they? And then Villa and...
it was just the way it was done. It was the way it was
dealers.
announced. The transfer fees weren't announced for whatever reason. You've got these guys who have turned up. I'm not sure the manager knew an awful lot
Do you not
that
think?
they were coming.
Somebody must have known.
It kept them up, though. It kept them up, didn't they?
Kept them. Well, there was a court case, wasn't there, from Sheffield United,
Yeah.
who actually went after West Ham because it was against the law, forbidden to have those contracts that they had in terms of being owned by a third party.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have it then. So they were eventually fined, and
You
that's
remember
why
why
Sheffield United
had them? Were they after them
Sheffield
as well?
United got relegated.
Oh, that's correct. Absolutely. Of course they did, yeah. At their expense, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. They didn't win
So
that.
Sheffield
though, did
United got relegated, and they weren't happy at all, and rightly so. And then West Ham were fined for doing the deal that way because it wasn't allowed.
they? Yeah, of course.
So in terms of, I just thought that's why, because it
Yeah.
caused such a reaction from football and what happened in and around West Ham and other clubs being relegated. As a possibility of that happening, and that's why I had it as number one.
Yeah, I could understand your point, but I just didn't think it was that much of a headline.
You played with Tevez, right?
Wow.
Yeah, he was.
What a player. Ability-wise, he's had more than Aguero.
Really?
Aguero is more natural finisher. Put him in there, he'll score.
You think?
He's
So why do you
potent.
say he's more?
He had more to his game. He could link the play. He could play any of the front three positions. He worked a lot harder than anyone, and he was just
Attitude?
a genius. Attitude was great. He didn't speak to anyone in training.
Off the pitch?
I heard he
Off
didn't
the pitch,
train. I heard he wasn't a trainer.
He just didn't do his own. None of them really trained well.
No.
The only Argentinian who's trained well is Zabaleta. He was every day at it.
He's a great guy.
Oh, he was a great. Yeah, but
So there you go. If you had to choose one, Tevez or Aguero,
for what though?
at the prime, to play up front.
Play football?
Yeah, but it's different. We're talking about one of the greatest.
Night out then, for a night out, Micah.
That's different.
Come on, for a
David
night.
Silva.
David Silva. All day long.
That is too hard. It's too hard. That's like asking Henry or Alan Shearer.
Well, that's
Well, that's easy. I'm real day long.
The different players out there. If I was going through one-on-one, I'd pick Alan Shearer. If I was going through one-on-one, I'd pick Aguero. If I was going for the va-va-voom, a little bit of, yeah.
But it's style.
A bit,
What are you trying to say?
pizzazz, do they call it? I'd go Henry.
Well, yeah.
And Tevez had just more. He was better, more. He was nicer to watch. He had the tricks. He could nutmeg people. He had absolutely everything. So, if I had to pick one, look, Aguero won me a Premier League, so I've got to pick Aguero. But all-round ability, Tevez was way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Wow. Way better.
I know, way better.
Way
I
better.
wouldn't,
All-round.
better, that's
All-round.
I would never have said that. I would have said...
That's a headline right there.
I know, yeah.
Micah Richards said Tevez is way better than Aguero.
Looking on from the outside, I would have said that's a big call. I know great ability, but I mean Aguero was.
He's new to this business,
Don't
but
forget,
he
don't
knows
forget.
he knows how to make an impact.
Oh, yeah, don't forget. Remember when we won the Premier League in 2011, 2012?
Did you never mentioned it.
Well, yeah, I've got to mention it. You lot keep mentioning your goals, so I'll mention the Prem. He went on a golfing trip. Like, you love your golf, don't you? Do you remember the story when he fell out with
with the celebration?
Mancini? Yeah.
Right.
And he come back after playing golf, no training, no football. Yeah. And I think I remember writing this. He scored an hat-trick against Norwich on his first game back. Had he not come... Aguero gets all the limelight. Yeah. It's a bit like me and Zabaleta. I played the most game in that season. He scores in the most important game of the season.
Yeah, well,
it's a difference, isn't it?
There is a difference.
So if he wouldn't have come back, Man City wouldn't have won the league that year. I'm certain of it. Without him, we wouldn't have won it.
What was the fallout about?
Well, Mancini used to fall out with everyone about everything. He was Marmite. He loved me. Mancini, I don't know why he loved me.
Did he?
I don't know why. I still speak to him now.
I love you, Micah. It's your laugh or whatever,
but
infectious personality. The fact that you weren't that good.
I hated him to start with, but then he was just honest.
Why did you hate him?
Because
he didn't play you?
So basically, we come and when we first did training, he had the front. I think I told the story before. Basically, we had floodlights. Like he came around. It was winter time, wasn't it? And was doing double sessions. And on AstroTurf pitch, we had floodlights. Was doing double sessions, and like positioning was not really my say, strong point. I'd played midfield, right back, all over the place. So, and he was trying to teach me the basics, but I wasn't getting it. Like at the level that he wanted it.
We found that with this podcast, actually.
So he used to just like throw his arms at me, like basically, all that nonsense. But like, I'm always smiling and joking, but I have got that percentage where I feel like someone's mugging me off. Like, I'll have a go back as well.
You're a great player, Michael.
I'm the size of me in that. So there was one story that was in, I don't know if I told it before, we was in away. But I just lost my rag with him. I was just like there's players there who are not performing and you're coming for me. Yeah. But then because I went for him, I think he had that little bit of, in terms of just...
You didn't hit him, did you?
No, I tried to.
Did you?
Yeah, I wanted to, but the players grabbed me back. And from that, it just... Because he knew I
can't... hit a manager?
Yeah, I tried. All sorts went off it. I'd change it, honestly.
You never tried to hit a manager?
I've seen a manager try to hit a player. I've seen another player, but no, not... I've had plenty of rows, but I've never tried to hit
I've tried to hit a couple of managers.
I felt like hitting a couple, but I never tried, never quite had it.
But then you say he loved you.
And then after that, we just had some weird relationship where I could just get away with anything I wanted.
Really?
But I had to play well. He was happy with my improvement in my game, and I wanted to learn. So after that, we was just
teacher's pet.
Pretty much, yeah. I had to earn his respect.
We believe you.
Ashley Cole. That's. I mean, it was the transfer, wasn't it? And then latterly, it was kind of the book thing that exacerbated it in many ways, wasn't it? Because which probably wasn't the wisest thing Ashley's ever done. Talking about, it's again brings me back to that thing about footballers and money, and they kind of as soon as you mention it, you just get.
Got to be careful what I say. Ashley's my mate, so.
Well, they got pictured together, didn't they, in a secret meeting in a hotel, and that's I think maybe 6 months or a year before the transfer.
When you say
happened.
they, so that was Ashley.
I think it was Ashley with his agent, with and their managers or a manager. Was it Jose? He got pictured with Jose in some hotel or a restaurant or something like that, and him and his agent.
And obviously moving from one London club to another, and it being Chelsea. But he went on to win a lot.
What a player he was!
Yeah.
I mean,
he was also a player that you see a lot of really top players that don't necessarily deliver in the big tournaments and stuff, but he did, and he was always consistently good for England. I mean,
he was as good as left back we've had.
Yeah, he was the one player as well that could play against Ronaldo. He used to play really well against him, didn't he?
He had a nasty streak to him as well, didn't he? He wouldn't.
Did he?
Oh, he wouldn't. He wouldn't mind putting his foot in to do someone.
Did you play against him at all, or?
I think I would have played against him. Yeah.
Just in his early days.
In his early days, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played with him at England. He was by far the best left back.
Talking about playing with, did you know that you two played against each other? In 2006, you crossed over for 12 minutes. Manchester City, Newcastle. Micah, you came on with 12 minutes to go. You played the whole game. You didn't score either, and you lost 3-0.
Oh.
Really?
And Mike, I believe you might have been given man of the match.
Yeah, I was fantastic when I come on. Instructions from the manager was Stuart Pearce. Yeah. He said his legs are gone. Get in there and don't let him shoot. Show him on his left side.
That was absolutely correct. My legs had gone, yeah.
It's a weird thing when your legs go in football.
Actually, I remember you coming on in that game thinking there's been a lot of talk about this youngster coming, he's got a great future. You're disappointed.
Never lived up to expectations. People listen to these things, but think they're very deeply unpleasant people, aren't they?
This is brilliant. This is
like
what it's all about. This is what we miss.
Oh no, I can't remember where we were now. It doesn't really matter.
That was it. We're at the end, I think.
Not quite, because we've got Torres. You got him at 5 and Al at 3. I think one of the most astounding things, not just was the fact that Torres moved from Liverpool to Chelsea, it's how he suddenly stopped being Torres.
Yeah, I know.
As a player, in many ways.
I often thought about that, whether he was injured or he had a problem before he went. I don't know. That's what I always thought, because He had moments at Chelsea, but it was nowhere near
so
what
good
he
at
had
Liverpool.
Liverpool. He was unbelievable
yeah.
player, wasn't he? And it was gone from that to what he was at Chelsea.
He was
I just
never
thought,
quite
was
the
he
same
injured?
again, was he?
No.
Never, even after, he went back, obviously, Atletico Madrid, places like that, but he did all right, but that was 2 or 3 years at Liverpool. He was electric.
Oh, he never ever hit the heights really that he did it at Liverpool, because he was. You're right. He was unbelievable, wasn't he? He was at times unplayable.
Played against him a couple of times.
When he's prime with Liverpool.
Liverpool.
And
Couldn't get anywhere near him. Yeah. He was fast. He was intelligent. He was stronger than. Have you seen him in the gym now? I've seen his Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
He's looking really well. And he just had everything. So when he went to Chelsea, I thought it was going to be a perfect move for him. And then
50-odd million, wasn't it?
You know what it was like? Do you remember Space Jam? Space Jam, the
Space Jam, when they take out his talent.
He took all his powers. It's like,
great movie,
where's he?
That was basketball, though.
Yeah, I know, but similar effect with him when he went to Chelsea.
I think right here, I remember we were doing some programme, it might have been about Torres, I don't know, he did say, he's been Space Jam.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. So you're not the first person on this podcast to have used that. But yeah, extraordinary player. Eric Cantona.
Cantona. I say, You can't go from Leeds to Man United. So this is where my
This is
pain. This is my pain.
Now.
So I was born in Birmingham, raised in Leeds, and I grew up in Manchester.
Supported Arsenal.
I know, what chance have I got? So then when he can't go from Leeds to Man United.
Well, didn't he?
I know, and Leo, I can't believe he don't get more stick for it, to be honest.
Cantona, at the time, did you think, because it's not that much money, I mean, it's quite a bit more money back then, but did you think to yourself, Christ, this is a player that's going to turn Manchester United into a winning machine?
I don't think anyone could have predicted what Eric brought to Man United. No. The
swagger.
Yeah, the arrogance, the swagger, the ability, the I don't give a flying about anyone attitude. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have that arrogance, you've got to have some ability, and he did. I mean, he took it to another level in terms of, this is who I am. I don't care about anyone except me. And you've got to be a good player to do that. And he was. I mean, and he got away with more than anyone else as in terms of a player. I talked to Steve Bruce about that, but he said he was our king. I mean, that's what we called him, King Eric, isn't it? Yeah. And anyone that they still sing about now, that they do, then he had to be special, and he was.
Yeah.
Proper player.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched him growing up. I just thought he was fantastic. I think when you're a young person watching football, you want to see a little bit of personality.
He certainly had that.
And that's what I liked about him the most. Yeah. Obviously, his goal. You remember the goal when he just dinked? I can't remember where he dinked it, and then he just stood there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
that one, the little.
That's just iconic. Yeah.
It was the chip against Sunderland.
Was it Sunderland?
Was it Old Trafford? The dink over the
dink. Oh,
with his collar up.
Delightful it was.
The flying volley at Crystal Palace in the crowd. I was working that night. I was one of my very early days when I was a pundit. I was alongside Des Lynam, and when it happened, we were watching the game. Then we had to go on. It was midweek, wasn't it? It was a night game, and it was sports night. I think I was doing sports night, and I think it was like, so what did you make of that, Gary? I think it was totally unacceptable. Came out with something inexcusable. I thought, oh God, no. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Cheers. But yeah, it was an extraordinary moment. That leaves us really, well, we've kind of already discussed it, but we did say we'll save a little bit of the Sol Campbell, because you had Sol Campbell in 10th, moving from Spurs to Arsenal, and he was your top. Why for you was
just because Sol Campbell was I would say, I liked Vieira the most, and then Henry.
When you're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah. When Sol Campbell is someone who I looked up to massively. I thought he was undervalued as a player. I think he was a lot better than people actually give him ratings for. He wasn't the greatest on the ball. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to play alongside him, although for England. But I tried to forget this game. It was against Croatia.
Weren't you very good?
We lost. We didn't go to the Euros.
Oh, that game.
That game.
The Wally and the
Wally and the Brawler. And McLaren, he was a great coach as well. And then to see that...
Shame.
You know, he loved me. I was in the team, playing for England, playing with idols.
Yeah.
And it just all came crumbling down. It really did. So, but then, when you look up to someone as a captain, even in his Spurs days, to then go and play for your rivals on a free contract, I just think it was a disgusting thing to do.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
Because
even though he went to the club that you supported.
Even, yeah, he got time. But I
I
totally understand it from his point of view.
Yeah.
Alan said maybe they didn't want to pay him the money that it was worth, and he knew he was going to be successful at Arsenal, and it worked out well. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It did work out well, but I just think sometimes there's a way of doing
balls
things.
to do that as well as a player.
Well, he had that. He had that, didn't he? He was one of those. He'd turn up. I first became aware of Sol Campbell when I was at Tottenham, and Terry Venables came to me, and we often watched the youngsters play. So it was interesting. He went, "I want you to come and watch this lad for 20 minutes." I went, "Okay." He said, "You see the lad up front there?" He said he's going to play for England up front Monday, and I went, "All right, I'll have a watch." So I watched it with Sol Campbell playing up. He was playing striker. So I watched him for 20 minutes and I went, "No chance." He went, "No, you mark my words, he'll play up front for England." We were sort of both right. But he ended up playing lots of times for England, but certainly not up front. I couldn't see a centre forward in there, but true story though. He's about 15, 16 at the time, I think. Yeah.
Because you would have played with him at
I had a
England
decent
as well.
record. I didn't mind. Sol was one man I didn't mind playing against, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always
Why?
had. I thought I could just sort of take him where I wanted to take him. If I went and stood out he would come with me and.
Why is that a good thing?
Well, because I felt as I was always in control and I always had a decent record. Never.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at another Arsenal great in Tony Adams. Probably unfair to compare. Whereas it was a tough battle against Tony Adams. I never felt it was that tough against Sol Campbell.
Yeah. It's interesting how that turns out.
But then you talk to others.
Probably why you've got him at 10.
Yeah. But you talk to others who would say, "Oh, what a player! I found it tough against him." But
no, I played. I think just when I was with him at England, he was showing me, different positions. He wasn't probably the most mobile, maybe.
Yeah.
That's why in pulling him out and stuff like that. He was sort of really good in straight lines, but the twisting and turning.
Yeah.
He wasn't his best attribute. But yeah, I learned so much from him. It was a pleasure to play with.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of it. The only thing is, we've both got
to decide.
I've got to decide, obviously, between I suppose Sol Campbell and the Mascherano and Tevez deal.
No favourites here. What was more of a headline? Tevez and Mascherano. We didn't even hear about it until they started playing after a month.
I think.
Well, you still haven't heard about them. You had to read up about them.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go Sol Campbell because I was at Tottenham, not then, but I saw him earlier. And Tottenham, for him to leave Tottenham to go to Arsenal is just unforgivable as a former Spur. So I've got no qualms with going for that. Thank you very much, chaps.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you probably just about kept your spots this week. No shock transfers. Remember to have your say. Who do you think would have made your list? We've had ours. As always, we're always happy to hear yours. Go to the hashtag Match of the Day top 10 if you want to do your top 10. Does the order really matter? Probably not.
This is Nas. I'm here to tell you about a new podcast about the greatest there ever was.
Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier was more than a prize fight.
A fight that stopped the world in its tracks.
It's an onslaught now, and he's down.
A fight that that changed the world forever.
15 hours ago, I left the ringside of Madison Square Garden, New York, carrying with me the videotape recording of one of the most extraordinary fights of all time.
A boxing match that transcended the sport.
Muhammad Ali became a martyr in many ways. He forsaked everything to refuse to go and fight.
The fight of the century, Ali versus Frazier. Listen on the BBC Sounds app. Sounds app.